folks, meet 1812. It's got its work cut out for it, and so do I. For months now, my open source printer projects have been just sitting on the concrete floor of the studio. In this video, that's all going to change. We're going to set up a serious, rugged, affordable 3D printer shelf setup for my shop space. But first I have to deal with this mess. So often I'm behind the 8-ball on my projects. By the time I finish one, I need to roll right into the next, and the mess from the last project just stays. I have this excellent loft, but in reality, accessing it's difficult because I only have an 8-foot stepladder to get up here, which is precarious at best. So things come down from here and never get back up. A set of stairs is on the to-do list, but I need storage down here right now. And ever since I built my Prusa Print Farm shelving unit, folks have been asking me, where can I get a setup like this? Well, today I've got the answer to that question and my storage woes. Pallet racks. Namely, for my space, I'm going to cover over 20 feet of a wall with pallet racking, giving me a ton of storage, as well as providing a home for a bunch of 3D printers and a base to build some future projects upon. Right now, I want to note this video is sponsored by ECOVACS and their new DEEBOT T90 Pro Omni Robot Vacuum, who you've already met, 1812. It'll be around throughout this video. For right now, we need to head out and pick up the hardware we're going to build our massive shelving unit out of. Wherever warehouses exist, pallet racking is sure to follow. There are whole businesses that deal in selling new and used pallet racks, so I found these folks on a local marketplace listing. There's a range of sizes available in the depth of the uprights, the height of them, and the length of cross beams. For my application, I'm going with 12-foot tall ones that are 24 inches deep, and a couple of different lengths of the cross beams, which will make sense as we get to assembling my setup. I'm building a pretty big setup, so we'll compare pricing to other commercial options toward the end of this video. For right now, let's get these offloaded. Of course, any project like this, things are going to have to get worse before they get better. This entire wall is going to be covered in shelving, meaning everything that's currently just stored against this wall has got to move. 3D printers, boxes of parts, they've all got to get out of the way so we can start this process. Okay, I had zero intention of stopping and talking about the T90 Pro right now, but I am legitimately impressed with it. I've barely used it at this point, but I've already seen it running over the extension cords that I thought for sure would be a huge obstacle for it. And it's so quiet while vacuuming that Nori doesn't care. She usually loses her mind when a vacuum is running near her. This thing, she just looks at it with interest. That's it. That's all. I was just genuinely impressed. Let's get these shelves up. As these are 12 foot tall, but only 24 inches deep, I need these secured to the floor for safety. Which means I need to drill my concrete all the way up to 1/2 inch, so I can drive in some concrete wedge anchors and bolt down my upright. For my build, I had to pay special attention to the length of the cross beams in this first section because I have that sink over there that I want to keep. If I had too long of a beam, my upright would be in the middle of the sink. So I had to get specific length ones for this first section. From here on, it's not that big of a deal. For this application, I want to go a few steps further. First up, I'm putting carriage bolts into each of the cross beams on this last section. The reason that I'm doing this is I'm putting 3D printers in this last section here, which are gonna have rapid direction changes when they're printing fast. So I don't want this vibrating and shaking around on me more than it has to. My second conceit comes in the form of this block of wood. You might have noticed while I was assembling this, I was spacing my uprights a single 2x4 width away from the wall. That's so I can put blocking on the wall and then secure the blocking to the studs in my wall and my uprights to the blocking. To actually deck our shelves, pallet racks typically use wire grate shelving, but I'm not forklift certified, we're not putting pallets up here. Sliding things on and off of plywood is a whole lot easier. And since our shelving is 24 inches deep, a single sheet of plywood can be split in half to make up 2 shelves. I'm gonna use my track saw to do this, a tool I wish I would have gotten a lot sooner, though I really wish I would have spent a little more and got a name brand one. This Wen version, it works, but this is a time lapse of 2 full real world minutes of me fiddling with getting it locked into its track properly. It's just really annoying to operate. To better support the plywood across its load, I'm cutting some 2x6 cross pieces that'll nestle nicely into the cross beams and support the plywood across the span. Now, while this project is at heart a cleaning project, I'm actually making more of a mess in my wake. Thankfully, the 1812, the DEEBOT T90 Pro, is cleaning up in my shadow. As I noted when I secured the racking, I'm worried about squeaks and rattles. So some foam tape is going to go down on the cross beams to prevent the wood from rubbing against the metal. Then I can install my plywood. I'm going to throw a couple of screws into each of the cross 2x6s just to support everything and tie it all together. But once I have the pieces on, especially the top ones, I have an added side benefit of this. It created scaffolding so I could finally reach the areas I wasn't able to paint previously high up on my wall. While we aren't yet done, I do want to answer a question. We now have over 24 foot long, 12 foot tall, and 2 foot deep of storage and work area potential. But I said this was an affordable option. How much did this all cost me? For just the pallet racking hardware, it was $818. I get that that is not a cheap thing, but if you compare it to the cobalt shelving that I have up in my loft area, that stuff is great, and I've used it for printer shelves in the past. 4 uprights and all the same count of shelving cross beams, that's a little over $600 for that. This can be a pretty solid option. Not the cheapest one that exists, but for the strength of it, the size of it, you get a lot of bang for your buck here. But of course, I don't even know if we could consider this a Mandic Labs project without the addition of RGB backlighting in my brand colors, lighting it up. Of course, RGB doesn't just happen, so let's talk about what went into it. On the Prusa Core 1L, I printed up this 120mm fan cover for the 350 watt power supply that's powering all of the lighting on the shelves. This is because the stock fan's not the quietest. I used Prusament PETG V0 to print this, as it's a fire-rated material and great for electronics housings. Now, of course, the RGB needs a control interface, and the brains of the operation is this Yawl PCB put together by studio sponsor PCBWay. This runs WLED firmware so I can easily wirelessly control the RGB. If you want to pick up one of these PCBs, get some CNC machining done, laser cutting, or 3D printing, check out PCBWay at the link in the description. It's pretty easy to mount everything to one of the cross beams that's holding up the shelf, and then just flip it over and get it out of the way. Of course, nothing gets installed without approval by our quality assurance department. With that done, I could monkey around in my new jungle gym to get these lights installed. I also added some white LEDs for front lighting on the printer shelves so that those areas could be better illuminated in the background. At this point, we've got to finish cleaning this space, get things up on the shelves, and get the printers in place. Which means we need to talk about 1812, the DEEBOT T90 Pro Omni robot vacuum that's helping me take care of this space. The T90 Pro is both a robot vacuum and mop, But unlike other robot vacuum mop combos, it doesn't have spinning pads, but a larger roller that does a much better job of evenly cleaning a surface. As it runs along the edge of a wall or baseboard, it can actually extend that roller out to get right up to the edge and get a really good clean. On the vacuum side, it's rated at around 30,000 pascals of suction, and more importantly to me, it has an anti-tangle roller brush design. Ruby has some fairly long hair that our old robot vacuum really struggled with. This has one end that's open and allows that hair to be sucked right off the end of the roller, so you're not going to have those tangles that I have to cut off all the time. I mentioned earlier how quiet it is. That's because you can adjust the suction capabilities of it, from quiet mode all the way up to super suction. I dialed it up for the sawdust cleaning earlier, and it did an excellent job. It took a handful of passes, but I really thought this was a major stress test, a pile of sawdust, and it did a better job than I expected. The T90 Pro is also a fast charging system. It has a docking station it goes back to empty out its own dustbin, empty and refill its own mop water, clean the roller in the docking station, and rapidly charge. It's wild to see the app charging this thing. You can see the percentage climbing up actively while it's in the dock. This one here, 1812, I'm really looking forward to having it as a helper around the studio. If you're interested in getting one of these for your workshop or your home setup, check out the link in the description. Thank you again to ECOVACS for sponsoring this video. I moved into this studio a few months ago at this point, and I didn't realize how used to having printers just sitting on the floor, kind of in my way, I got. Until I fixed the problem. You are looking at 24.5 feet of desperately needed storage. This turned out so good, I'm pumped to improve the rest of my studio's space now. I haven't actually fully cleaned it. That's for another day. It was taking too long and this portion of the project had to get done. This is already a massive improvement, getting the printers into their new homes, filament off the floor, project boxes somewhere to go, and there's more potential here to grow from here. I'm going to talk more about my future plans for this in my mission debrief for Patreon patrons and YouTube members. It'll be a post-episode episode where we talk about what went wrong with this and my future plans. For right now, I'm really excited to keep working. This is already feeling like a weight off my shoulders. Despite the fact the studio is still quite a bit of a mess, it's a lot better than it was, and that's a good, relieving feeling. This was cheaper than all of the racking that I have up in my loft, and it's so much more space and more versatile. I have room to grow. I could put another shelf up at the top of this thing. There's just so much I could do with this. Is a setup like this going to be for everybody? Of course not. You have to have tall enough ceilings for one thing to have this big of a setup, but they make shorter uprights. I've seen them down to 4 foot. I've seen them 8 foot. There's a range of sizes out there. So if you need some heavy duty storage for your shop space, your print farm, I would really consider looking into pallet racking. I really do have to get back to the cleaning. I've got to make room for my biggest unboxing ever sometime soon. Thank you again to ECOVACS for sponsoring this video. Thank you to YouTube members and Patreon patrons for helping to keep the lights on around here. And I hope this video inspired you to change up your workspace. Alright folks, get subscribed to ensure your 3D prints don't fail. It's not a guarantee, but it can't hurt. See you folks. Come on. I guarantee, but it can't hurt. See you in the next one, folks. I'm okay, kiddo. I'm okay.